All right, I want to talk a little bit about a video I just shared, training in the noise. Just shared a training in acquisition holdco program, um, and so I want to talk a little bit about that. We go over a JV that I did with. Um, an attorney in AI. And so we basically combined a few things, generated $2,200 in a day, which is pretty awesome. Also, and I'm gonna share that in the Patreon, so you guys will get access to that in the Patreon because it is a very cool strategy where I just break that down step by step. But here I do want to kind of give a high level of the opportunities that exist. Before we get into that, I want to go over a few questions that have come in and some conversation. So, one of the things I love is when it comes to the Patreon, we get to have these conversations and some questions come up that I don't really think about. I don't really, sometimes I'm going over the strategies and I don't think about, just some of the questions that I take for granted. So that is one of the things that I love about just kind of each program. So one of the questions that came up was around the trading, and I mentioned this on a recent video here. I do owe a share from yesterday's trading yesterday, where generated maybe about 1,500 in income trades. So that screenshot will go up later today on just what I'm looking at for the rest of this week. But someone was asking, as I was talking about one of the income trades we did, I was doing on Microsoft, where we have Microsoft. It was maybe at 260. We started selling calls over the course of this year with everything going on. They have a limited upside on AI, but there's not a lot of places that people can play or invest and get a benefit from AI. And so I think that's one of the things that's been pushing it up, but it's gone up to 300. And so one of the patronies, one of the Patreon folks was asking, like, but why not just get the capital gains? So if you're going to make the money, it's like, why not just buy the stock and you missed out on all of that capital gains? And that is a very important question that I have to address. So the reason, as deal makers, and especially if you're building an acquisition holding company and maybe one of the SPVs, this has that strategy of generating income off of the dollars that are just sitting in the bank. What you're doing is increasing the valuation. And so it's really important to separate the two, because if on one end you're increasing the income, one day you're going to be able to sell that business and that income at a 3x, low end. If it's, microspace, 4x. If it's a larger company, a little bit more than that. If it's if it's a deal that we're going to merge into the publicly traded company, then you're talking 20x. You've got a lot of different things you can do because of that income. If, on the other hand, we made that same amount of money and it was just capital gains, two things are really crucial. You can't include that in the sale of the business, because that's like kind of a one-time event. Whereas if you're saying, hey, this is a part of what this business does, we're going to train you on this, this is part of the income, now we can sell that as part of that business. If you've got a capital gains, you can't sell it, so you miss out on that 3 to 4x, you miss out on that 10x, you miss out on that 20x. But most importantly, you're also going to get hit with a massive capital gains tax. So you're kind of getting the worst of it if you get that capital gains from a deal maker perspective. Now, there's a lot of other intricacies and taxes and all that aren't worth going into here. But I thought that was a really cool question. That was one of the, I have, a couple dozen of these conversations in Patreon. So I like to pick out a couple that are at least kind of clarify things there. Another person asks, what is the acquisition holding company program? So acquisition holdco is where we train you on how not to just go out and buy businesses. It's getting into the business of buying businesses, which is a very different thing. It's a lot to go over here, and that's why I haven't really tackled the whole subject. Even in the initial materials, like once I get on the phone with folks and kind of talk to them about the details around that program, it's like, oh my god, okay, because there's a lot of intricacies that you have to explain, and why you want to be building a holding company. So if you are interested in that, I would just say reach out, hit Nori at goodmerger.com. But it is really, really cool. That is where we're at like 9 closed deals, a lot of other SVPs that have been created out of thin air, kind of like the one that I'm going to mention a little bit here. And so that is, something if you're interested in learning about acquisition holdco. It's tough to get into the details because there are just a lot of layers into what that program is. And then the last question that I picked out from the Patreon folks is around, when you're creating a holding company, what's the purpose? Like, what do you put down as the purpose for that company? Well, one of the things that all of my acquisition companies are essentially consulting companies. So, we offer consulting to each of the businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hasta luego. We offer consulting as a equity. So basically, consulting for equity is one of the things that we also teach people to do. Is like, if you're going to go in and you're going to help grow a company, whether you're going to buy that company and help grow it, or you're going to invest a portion of equity, or you're just going to help grow it and get equity without putting any cash in, all of those things kind of fall under the consulting umbrella. And if you're going in and sometimes depending on what state you're in, you have to say like, hey, this is what kind of company it is. And you may not, have a specific industry that you're in, and they may not have acquisitions as a thing. So that's something to be aware of. You can, if you're in a specific industry, then you just say you're in that industry, even though you're doing roll-ups and that kind of thing, you're still kind of in that industry. That is not legal advice. But that does bring us to this final point. So, just did a training that's going to be added to the Access Holding and Patreon on this really cool deal that I did with an attorney, where we are offering a couple of services through this attorney in partnership. And it's really powered by AI. The attorney's reviewing everything. It's a particular segment of of business space, but I think this is something that it can be really big. It's like just thinking outside the box. And I think the important thing that I want to let people know is you don't need to do marketing. You don't need to invent things. You don't have to be the next huge creator. I think really breaking things down simply. And the most important thing is looking for where people are right now and how you can offer them a service based on what they want to spend money on. Like I call it, the training is like they've got money in hand. They're literally just looking for like, who am I going to spend this money with? And so there are all of these opportunities to do that, like, in legal services that now can, be supplemented by AI. And, I break down, because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I can't do that. And so, definitely if you're in either of those, check out that training, because I think this takes things when we're talking about creating and building SPVs, it's more about the thinking. It's not even this specific strategy. I do want some of y'all to be using this exact strategy because it's just the money is too easy. And but at the same time, I want you to be thinking outside the box. It's like because these opportunities are just absolutely endless. Like and right now, especially, and I think I explained in the training like why I don't think it's just like this one trick pony thing of being able to offer a service, have it supplemented, do a JV with somebody else, and in every industry that's going to exist for a while, and so some people might say, and basically, we're just offering legal services that AI can provide, and we're getting it reviewed, where we're finding the client, we're basically getting the work done, we're getting it reviewed by an attorney, and we got doing showing the training exactly where the client is, what types of services to offer, and then how you negotiate that deal with the attorney in that training. But the exciting thing for me is, again, it goes back to that very first point of capital appreciation versus income. It's you can build these things whether you're buying a business and adding this on top of it. But when you're looking at businesses now, when I'm looking at business, I'm really looking at it from the lens of what are the add-ons, what are the additional things that we can provide this client base that's going to increase the amount of dollars that come in and the evaluation. But the other side is, we can create other SPVs. One of our biggest winners, I can't brag on them enough of this year. We had a couple of the previous funds that have done a couple hundred and 300 overall return, but the ladies in private equity fund incubator 5, who I'm very excited, I think we've got a call tomorrow. The thing that they did that was really cool is they had one deal that was basically this kind of SPV just from scratch. We've got this. We put these things into a separate SPV, and that SPV is gonna generate 100% return of the total fund. So this thing that we didn't do an acquisition, we just took a couple of things, put them together, put them into the SPV, and I say SPV, and the fund structure is a little bit different, but that's also the strategy that we're talking about when it comes to the acquisition holdco strategy. So just want to get y'all thinking outside the box. Do not go this path that everybody else is doing. The one thing that I can tell you is the most difficult thing to do is what everybody else is doing, and trying to, come up with an idea, do the marketing and get capital for it and all these other things that everybody else is doing. Like I said before, everybody's playing the business, the normal business game. You've got, the best athletes in the world. They want to play the normal business game path. And so you've got, actors, some of the best actors, George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds, like they're playing that business game. And so you've got to think outside the box when the smartest people, Harvard, everybody else playing the normal game, going down the micro private equity path and trying to think outside the box using some of these strategies. I think it just makes it a lot easier. If I was trying to do the normal path, number one, I wouldn't even have time to do something that generated $2,200 in a day. That just is from scratch. I'm trying to build this business. I'm trying to do marketing to figure out and compete against all these people on Facebook. And, like, come on, like I don't have time to do that. But when you realize like, oh, number one, the money is out there. There's underutilized resources everywhere that you just need to start to use them and maximize them. All of those things create an environment where there are an endless amount of these opportunities. Thank y'all for popping in. Be sure to make comments. We'll roll out. We'll skip the questions today, but I appreciate I got a call in 4 minutes, so that was perfect timing. I'll talk to y'all soon.